Okay, so my last video I did, I talked about the ollie and how to land it and what the front leg does and what's going on there. And I mentioned in the course of that instructional video that it's really important that you don't jump off the tail with the tail touching the ground and your foot still on the board, because you're not trying to jump off the ground or put force into the ground. You're trying to jump and then flick the board. So I had one of our subscribers make a comment about, hey, can you get into that? So here we go. I want to get right into it and take a look at how the learning process happens, because a lot of times, you hear different things. You get little comments like, hey, you got to stomp that thing down really hard, or things like that. And so in your head, you process that into, all right, I got to push down hard on it. When the skater who might have told you that was really saying, hey, you got to flick that thing fast. I mean, because what they feel is really rapid flick, and they are trying to make that tail hit the ground hard, but they don't want any weight on that tail when the tail hits the ground. Because if there is weight on the tail, it does all kinds of things to limiting the action of the board, because we're trying to flick that tail and get rebound energy to pop the tail back up off the ground. Now, if there's any weight on the board when that happens, that board is not going to come back up to us. We're going to take a look at the young student that is working on learning the ollie, and then we're going to take a look at a pretty accomplished ollie. We'll break things down and get into this, but I think you'll start to see the timing between when to jump and when to lift the front foot and snap the tail down, so that you get the best action out of the skateboard and start to improve how your board reacts in the air with that whole leveling out factor, and how to get that tail to pop up to your back foot so you can catch it. And we'll kind of take a look at a handful of things that'll help you improve your ollie. Okay, so let's take a look at this young skater. She's just getting started out. She's trying to figure out how to ollie. I mean, the ollie is like honey for bugs. It's like just attracts people right to it. It's so much fun. It's really hard to master, and it is the gateway trick to pretty much everything that you're going to learn in street skating and so many other avenues of skateboarding. Plus, it just builds confidence, and it gives you that feeling of success that you are kind of like the master of your universe for a split second, and you can do something really cool, even though pretty much all skaters are just a bunch of really cool nerds. So I don't know how that works out. Probably maybe it cancels itself out, but hey, who am I to judge? But let's take a look at what she's got going on here. So in this video, she's working on just trying to snap the ollie. And you can see she's getting pretty close to where there's no weight, but right there, that's her takeoff. And she has extended the back leg down, the tail's touching. She's still got weight on the board. She's not going to get much rebound energy out of that. See how the tail just stays on the ground right there? It's really important to note that, right? So if you look at the timing of this whole thing, right here, she should be getting low, right? And then she should start rising, because the key here is for her to get her core moving up, right? So we start out by getting the core to drop down this way. And then before we lift the front foot, because that's really the big starting point of the ollie, like we talked about in the last video, where you lift that front foot, everything kind of begins. Right before we lift the front foot, her core needs to be moving up, and all the weight has to pretty much be off of her feet. So her feet are getting really light when she starts to lift the front foot and flick the tail down. Now, if her core is pretty much staying in the same place and she's not getting a lot of upward momentum, then she's going to run into that problem of having what I kind of refer to as like a heavy foot or a lead foot, right? That back foot just feels like it's stuck to the ground. You can jump off the back foot, but the tail doesn't come up and the board doesn't lift up. And maybe you can catch the nose a little bit with your front foot and lift the tail off the ground that way, but you're not getting any of that really powerful rebound energy out of the tail of the board. All right, so let's clear those drawings real quick, and we'll take a look at this again. So now, if I take this back a little way, she's got some other attempts that are actually pretty good, where she's really trying to figure this out. You can see her foot possession changes here and there. But she's trying to get it, and she starts to get a couple where she's jumping and then trying to do the flick and kind of gets that feeling going. She's close. I mean, obviously she needs to work on her foot position where she's starting, and she needs to work on, just her overall posture to set herself up for better success. But these are really good little attempts. Okay, so she doesn't get real low. She's lifting before she's even jumping up. I don't know if you can see that, but watch right here. I'll put a little mark on her core. Take a look at what's happening there. This kind of area is her core. And you just watch to see if she's jumping or if that core is moving up before she starts to lift the front foot. Core is going down, down, down. Now she just lifted the front foot. So her core is on the way down as she's trying to lift her front foot. So she's going to get a heavy foot. And if you look right down here, again, you can see pretty clearly that her foot is connected to the tail. So she's got weight on the board, and the tail's connected to the ground. So she's putting a lot of force into the ground. And that's not going to play well because she won't get any of that rebound energy that will pop the tail of the board up. Okay. So now that we've established that, this is what I think. I know I did this when I was learning how to Ollie, and my Ollies aren't the best. So I'll just throw that out there, but I love doing them. Still, I didn't get better at my Ollies until I figured out this timing and what it means to be mostly weightless before you lift the front foot and flick the tail down. So let's go ahead. We're going to take a look at another video now of one of the other riders that I've featured a few times in here, Jordan, and his Ollie is pretty solid. So we should see and I'm going to make a guess, but I think we'll see the timing of that pop. So his jump before the lift and the snap. And that's really what we're looking for. Okay. So here comes Jordan. Pretty solid. Let's back that one up. We'll take a look at it. Okay, so Jordan's setting up right here. He's down low before he's going to even think about lifting or snapping. And what we're going to watch for just in slow motion is, does his core rise and are his feet getting unweighted? So no weight on them before he lifts the front foot. There's the rise. So he is right here. You can see the weights coming off the front foot. See, but the key is, look at how short he was here, to how much he extends, at least that high right there before he even lifts the front foot. And that's really key because he's building momentum up, right? He's jumping up, and then he's going to do some really important action. And this is the hard part. To jump and then do little flutter kicks with your feet is like some kind of a weird dance thing. It's like maybe something out of ballet, right? Or kung fu, but still the key is that you've got to get off the ground and get your feet weightless almost weightless before you start to lift the nose and flick the tail. So there's that weightless timing, right? And then now he starts picking up and rolling the front foot. So that front knee's starting to retract up. And you can see, if you watch, his heel stays nice and high. As he lifts up, there's that little flick with the back foot, and his back foot is never in contact with the tail when the tail hits the ground. So you can see right there in that action, he started flicking right here with that back foot. That's the end of his flick. And now he's floating up. So he was floating up as he flicked down. It's an interesting thing to think about. He's rising and jumping up as he flicks the tail down. He's not flicking the tail down and then rising up. He's already rising and he flicks the tail down on his way into the air. Really important to recognize that timing, and then you can see what it relates to. That board, it would be probably really cool to see this up close in hyper slow-mo, but that board is bending. That tail of that board is flexing, and it's about to create some energy, and it's going to flick that tail up. He's going to lift his back leg and let the tail race up to try to catch his back foot. And there you go. Because of that rebound energy and what we learned in the last video, catching the front foot at the nose right here, you can see him catching the front foot at the nose. He now has a pivot point around the front foot, and he's got rebound energy to get the board to snap up from the ground, and he's going to get a beautiful Ollie that, could clear 4 or 5 stacked skateboards, probably. Maybe 4. Let's call it 4. So if we watch that again, I want you to take close note and really look at a few things. So let's just get some things on the screen for you to look at. All right. So here's the baseline. Here's his core, right? So you can see where his core is all the way through. Got a nice baseline. We want his core to go up first. So we want his core to rise up, probably that high. We want his heel to stay up off the ground. So we don't want his heel to drop down. We want the toe to never touch the ground or be touching the board when the tail touches the ground. Let me clarify. So we never want the toe to be touching the board when the tail touches the ground. That's a critical factor in the Ollie. Your toe cannot be touching the tail when the tail hits the ground, or you won't get a very good Ollie, right? His front foot has to lift, and then it has to roll out and catch the nose right here. When all those factors come together, and finally his back foot has to come up, he has to lift it. When all those factors come together, right, then we start to get some really good action in the Ollie. Now think about it. Look at all those lines on the screen. That's a lot going on. You should really learn these things independent of each other, and even just make sure that you can jump and coordinate your legs before you ever even got on the board. I mean, one of the probably the best practice drills you can do is just stand on the ground or stand on your board in the grass or on the carpet and practice jumping from an Ollie stance, and then lifting the front knee and rolling the front foot out, and then lifting the back foot up higher than the front foot. So if you can go lift front, roll it out, and then lift back foot higher after you jump off the ground or after you jump off your board, you're in pretty good shape to probably do an Ollie, right? And then you could start working on actually levering the board and getting the nose to come up off the ground. One of my favorite things to do is just to sit in the chair and like just hold my back foot up high and flick at the tail with just my ankle. Practice doing that. Another key setup point for you to consider is keeping your heel nice and high off the board. So if your heel's nice and high off your back heel, that is. So if your back heel is nice and high off the board all the way through your setup, you've got a pretty good chance of keeping it higher when you jump off the board and flick the tail down. These are some pretty key factors. Most important factor though is being patient. Don't lift your front foot and try to flick the tail until you know that you're about to get weightless through your jump, through your I call it a jump, or you can call it pop. You can also, I like to call what the tail does when it hits the ground. You get pop off the tail because the tail hits the ground and flicks and kind of has that rebound energy. And you can simulate that like if you just, it's the same as throwing a bouncing ball at the ground. You throw a bouncing ball at the ground, it reacts and comes back up. It's just like diving. It's just like kind of like a diving board kind of effect as well, a springboard. So you'll really get some good action. Another way you can practice this setup is if you have a trampoline at home, that's a fun way. Just get a blank skateboard deck. You can go out there and practice just bouncing on the skateboard deck until you're in control and have some confidence. And then you can practice timing the jump, and you wait until you're rising up on the bed. The trampoline is coming up and you're about to release. That's when you lift. And it slows things down so you have more time to get a feel for this takeoff. Let's watch Jordan here and see if his core goes up again before he lifts the front nose. There's his core rising up above the line. And look, it's at least as high as that little arrow that we drew. Notice that his, again, back toe doesn't touch the tail while the tail's touching the ground ever. There's a release right there. Really important. Look at his front knee is coming up first. That's what got the nose to come up. That's what started the whole lever action. Right, the front knee lifts. That little flick of the back foot right there, that's what finishes the lever action and gets you the energy that you need out of the tail. Then he catches the board right here with the front foot up past the front wheels up on the nose. That's going to start the whipping action of the tail. And then he pulls that back foot up. Look at that back foot even higher than the line of the core, but back foot up above the height of the front foot. That gets you that nice arcing action of the Ollie. And then he's going to stomp that thing down. All right, I hope that this helps you understand the timing of your jump and your lift and snap, and gives you some insight into a few things that you can practice and helps you just dial in that sense of confidence in whether or not you're doing the right thing. So if you're using video analysis at home, set up your phone and just watch the timing. See if you're getting weightless before you lift the front foot and snap the tail, and really focus on that. Practice keeping your heel up nice and high. Practice jumping off the board and coordinating what the front and back leg and feet are doing, right? Spend some time getting yourself into the sequential movements that you have to work on and you have to own, and then try to put them back into action with the Ollie. Take your time recognizing what you're capable of, because we can all jump plenty high to create a good Ollie. It's just a matter of, can we time all these little parts and pieces, and do we feel confident enough? Do we feel safe enough to even try to jump into the air off of a rolling skateboard? And if you're not at that point yet in your learning, in your progression, take some more time to roll around. Practice jumping onto and landing on the board in many different ways. Spend some time really getting used to landing, getting used to rolling, getting used to just doing, little hippie jumps. That's where you just jump off the board, land back on it while it rolls. Spend some time developing those pieces of the puzzle that will give you the confidence to even initiate your Ollie in the first place. Because if you're scared to initiate the Ollie because you don't think you're going to land without getting hurt, you will never do the movements right. So keep that in mind. If you're not confident landing and rolling away and feel like you can recover from a lot of weird positions, then you're never going to take off confidently. And so it'll be a very slow process for you, and you'll be frustrated a lot and struggle a lot. Now, on the other hand, you practice these things methodically. Start with ground skills and control, then move on to landings, then work on simulating all the takeoff moves. You might build yourself into an Ollie. Who knows, maybe twice as fast as the alternative. You guys can let me know in the comments. So let me know if this helps you and if this accelerates your learning and we're moving in the right direction. Now, if you saw anything in this video or any of our other videos that you want me to talk more about, just hit me in the comments and I'll try to be as responsive as I can be and create more content to help you understand the biomechanics, the physics, the science, and the actual doing of all these things that people love to do on a skateboard. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. And again, just let me know what you need. I'm always here and happy to help you guys figure out how to skate better.
Our goal is to help you learn how to skateboard and understand more about skateboarding. If this video helped you, be sure to hit us up in the comments below and tell us what you'd like us to focus on for our next video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and then subscribe to our channel and tell your friends all about us. If you'd like to learn more about the United States Skateboard Education Association, please visit www.ussea.us, where you can learn more about how to skate, learn more about helping others learn how to skate, and become a certified skateboard coach.